Okay. Hi, I'll be I want to interview you on the chance steps for the paper. We're kind of observing the relationship of students with space on the chance step grassy hill. So, for the purpose of the paper, do you have any name that you want me to address you by?
No, it doesn't matter. You can just use my actual name. Or, yeah, actually, maybe just change it just for personal reasons.
Do you have any name?
No, you can just use any
Okay.
surname, yeah.
So, for what reasons do you choose to come to areas such as the hill by the chance steps?
Usually, if I'm ever walking by the Jan Steps, it's usually to try to avoid Burn Walk, only because it's so crowded.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I have any, classes around maybe Haynes, that's just, like, way easier to do. I usually try to avoid the Jan Steps as well, just because, there's usually, like, crowded all around the grass area, and usually, like, people going up the Jan Steps in general. So I usually use the side steps that are, like, right by Royce.
Okay. Do you ever use that grassy area yourself?
I don't. Usually I find myself like trying to be kind of busy, so I don't really associate with the grass area. I don't even know how people get there sometimes. I usually do see people there though that are like usually studying or like napping and stuff, but I usually don't see myself having that time to use there. Yeah.
Okay, so when you do have the chance to come here, how do you choose the location where you sit or lay down?
Usually when I try to sit, I usually try to avoid grasses only because I know a lot of the time they do gardening. So usually when I try to find somewhere that is close to my class that I have next, because usually if I'm running late, I don't want to be that late. So if I want to relax somewhere, I usually try to sit outside the classroom or try to find a bench that's like right outside because that seems more convenient. And yeah.
Okay, do you take into consideration other students that may be sitting in the surrounding area?
I usually do. I usually try to see what I'm doing because sometimes it depends. Sometimes, like, I might choose to study or try to take a second look at the readings before class, which I might not be as distracting, but sometimes, like, I just have leisure time or I may choose to eat. So sometimes I do try to take into consideration other students because sometimes if I'm eating something and it might be loud, then I just rather sit outside, like outside in a bench rather than outside of the classroom.
Yeah, so when you're trying to like choose a place where you're gonna sit, do you like take into consideration maybe if like a student's sitting there, will you sit there as well? Or will you just not sit there if there's already
I feel like sometimes I won't sit there just because like I feel awkward because especially with the benches, they're so small. So if you're like sitting next to them, they're literally like a foot away. So it's just kind of weird that you're not engaging in a conversation with someone that's that close to you.
Okay. So in your point of view, does like the time of day influence the amount of people who are out on the grassy area?
I feel like, yeah, because I have walked there. Have a discussion early in the morning, like around 9. There's usually nobody there. And then usually I feel like the high peaks are around noon or 2, because that's when people, like, try to do all kinds of activities there. Usually, like, there's the napping, but there's also, like, other activities, like they put the tightrope up, and then they're, like, walking all around it, and I don't even know how they do that, but they do.
Do you think that maybe the tightrope walking or all that, does it attract people, or does it kind of like have people maybe go look somewhere else to sit?
I feel like some ways it does attract people. I mean, only people who are up to it, but I feel like there's a reason why they only set up the tightrope on one side where there's the trees, and then there's usually I find people who are like napping or using the grass area for other reasons. It's usually like to the other side of it, like by Royce Hall.
Yeah. So do you take into consideration like the weather? It's been raining recently. So when considering the weather, do you consider when choosing where you would sit, for example, like where will you sit when it's sunny in comparison to when it's maybe a bit chillier outside?
Yeah. Usually when it's sunny, I try to I think it really, really depends, because sometimes when it's really, really hot, I just want AC, so I usually choose a physics building because that's not as crowded as it is. If it's, like, wet outside, yeah, then I try to sit inside, but sometimes it's really hard to find somewhere to sit only because it's so crowded and everybody's not trying to be outside, so it's, like, really hard, too, at the same time.
Okay. So, do you think that maybe subconsciously you will sit closer to some students than others?
I think so. I think sometimes, like, I always, like, every time I sit next to someone, if that so happens, I try to see if, like, their demeanor seems friendlier or not, because I wouldn't want to sit next to someone who looks mean, and that sounds horrible, but usually, yeah, I don't really sit next to people who would seem really mean, just because wouldn't want to sit near, like, hostile. I wouldn't feel comfortable with that.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe gender plays into this? Where you like rather sit next to someone that's a girl, and versus someone that's a guy?
I think I do. Yeah, I usually like interact better with like females, just because I'm a girl, so I feel like there's that like instant like connection. Like there's like certain things that you can like connect with girls that you can't with guys, and then I think that's. Yeah, I definitely like look at gender sometimes when I'm sitting next to people.
So if you're out on the hill, let's say there's a bunch of space out there, and there's so many people too, like from the top of your head, how far do you think you approximately would sit from someone, like feet wise?
Probably like at least like maybe like 4 feet.
Okay.
Someone, yeah.
Yeah, so you don't want to be like too close, but
Yeah, I don't want to
you
be
don't want to
too
be
close
like
and
too far from
yeah,
someone.
too isolated from like.
Yeah. Okay. So when you go out to places like these to rest, do you usually have something in mind that you feel like you're gonna do?
I think it depends on the like on my workload, I guess. That makes sense. Like sometimes like I'm not a big reader, so I see a lot of people like reading. I think I'd see myself like just relaxing there. So I think I would have to like see what I'm doing that day. There are some days that I do have free time, but instead of like sitting around, I just choose to like walk around.
Yeah. So let's say that you do have like work to do, and you have to like catch up on some reading or do a paper when you're sitting here. Do you usually like maybe in reality do something completely different and get distracted from what you were?
Yeah, all the time. I always try to do like either Powell, but then I think it's just like the resources there are just too much. Like I try to pull out my laptop, and then it's just like really hard to like not go into like social networks. So then like even as even if I am keeping track on my work and then I'm like doing it, I'll take like 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, which like at the end of it all, like estimated, like I waste like an hour just like checking back and forth. So it's like really distracting. So that always happens.
Yeah, I could totally relate with that. So do you think maybe there's something about just being outside that causes this distraction, or it's just maybe you?
I think it's just me. Yeah, maybe I just don't want to do my work. So then like I find everything super interesting.
Yeah. So when you're like sitting in the grassy hills or whatnot, do you usually try to keep to yourself when in this space, or do you interact with others?
Yeah, I usually try to keep to myself, especially because I'm not very social in a way. So then, like, especially if I don't know someone, it's really hard for me to, like, be social in the first place.
Okay. Do you believe that people go out of their way to keep to themselves or to draw attention from them?
I mean, I think people do try to, like, keep to themselves usually because, like, every time I see them, it's always just, like, they're always doing something. I feel like it's not very, like, they're just sitting there for someone to, like, come and then, like, them to interact. They're always either, like, into their material or they're, like, totally, like, spaced out, or they're like taking a nap and you're just like totally covered from head to toe. Yeah.
Do you think that maybe headphones have like become this mechanism to like ward people off and be like, oh, don't bother me or something?
Yeah,
like that?
I think that's like one of the main things that we use on campus, especially because like I do that all the time if I'm like, if there's like no way that I can go around and walk, I will automatically like put my headphones in and like just walk down, because I know if they see me with headphones, I know that they will not try to talk to me because I won't be able to hear them in the first place. So it's like a really like effective way in a sense, but then sometimes it might be bad because like yeah, you might be like disconnected.
So I don't know if you experienced it, but often there's people walking around the grassy hill selling stuff, asking for donations. Have you like experienced this, and how do you react to people that like come around to sell stuff?
Yeah, I remember like my first year, I would totally like donate. Like there was that one guy that came up that's always there, and like I gave him like $5. I remember, because I was thinking like, oh, it's a one-time thing.
Yeah.
And then like after like my first year, I learned, and I was like, okay, there's no reason why you should be asking for that many people, that many donations. Like I've seen you since my first year. Like you can't just be here all the time. Like there has to be something behind like what you're doing. So then usually like if I happen to like need something, like if I'm hungry and I know people are like having fundraisers, then I will go, because I feel like those are organizations based on school. So like maybe they benefit more from me than like going to like Ackerman and buying something. That might seem better for them.
Yeah, okay. So what is your point of view on tourists that come around the grassy hill when you're here to take pictures or such?
I feel like sometimes it's okay. I feel like sometimes it's really distracting. Like, I feel like it's okay to take tours, like, outside, because I always see them regardless, like, if I'm walking from class to class. But there's, like, some instances where, like, tours, I don't know if they're, like, scheduled, like, during midterms, because I remember, like, during midterms and finals, like, those are still happening, and so, like, they're, like, really distracting, and sometimes, like, they just take up space. Like, it sounds really bad, but sometimes, like, they're walking through the halls, and you're, like, during class, and you're, like, it's really hard to get through.
Yeah.
Or sometimes, like, there's even, like, they even go into Powell, so you're trying to do your work, so then sometimes you feel distracted, because they're staring at you, and it's really weird sometimes. So, yeah, sometimes it feels, like, very awkward.
Okay. Do you often feel uncomfortable when someone sits too close to you when you're relaxing here?
Yeah, I automatically do. I feel like if you're sitting like that close, like, then I should know you in a sense. Like, there's no reason why a stranger should be. I'm like very like stuck on that. Like, if I don't know you, I won't really sit next to you. So I take like really precautions, like probably do headphones, or like probably like actually like do my work or be in my computer or look like I'm doing something like busy work, so I'm not like interrupted or talked to or whatever.
So what's your favorite thing about the Jan's Grassy Hill?
I think my favorite would have to be like, I think automatically just when you pass by it, it just automatically seems like stress-free in a sense. Like even when you're stressed and you're just like, and then you start walking around campus, like, and then you notice like it's really pretty outside, and then I think that just takes it, like, and then it also like it just seems like everybody's always doing work there, like everybody's always reading a book or on their computer, and then it makes it seem like, well, like those are people who are doing their work, like maybe it in a sense like it's kind of like motivating, like, oh yeah, it's not that hard to like get to work and actually like have leisure time at the same time, because it just seems like really peaceful and nice.
What's your least favorite thing?
Least favorite thing? I think I don't really spend my time there, but I would think that like if I'm trying to do my work there and I don't have headphones or something, sometimes it could get really loud, especially because I know that sometimes like tours or like elementary schools who have like field trips here, they end up like having lunch in the grass area, so then like it could probably get loud at times when you wouldn't want it to be.
Okay, so that will conclude our interview. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay. Go. Hi, my name's Jasmine. I was wondering if I could interview you for my soc20 class.
Sure. Like, why me?
So, I'm doing an interview and kind of observing students around the Jan Steps Grassy Hill. So I'm kind of just seeing how people interact with the space, how they interact with the people around them, and all that stuff.
You just picked Jan Steps because like you didn't want to pick another area.
Yeah, I just kind of think that so many students go there daily, and everyone just has different reasons why they go there. They just do different stuff. They interact differently with people. So I thought it was kind of interesting.
Okay.
So it shouldn't take that long. It's only a couple of questions. So first off, would you like to give me like a name that I could refer to you as for this interview?
Sure. Do you need like is it gonna be recorded? Like,
Yeah, it will be recorded. So just for your identity protection wise.
oh, okay. So I just give you just pick a name.
Yeah.
Okay. How about Katie?
Katie? Okay, Katie. So, as we could see, it's been raining these past few days, so there's not really much of a chance to go to the John Stepso as you would usually go to. So, how's that affected?
Well, obviously it's been like wet, so I don't want to sit down on the grass because I don't like my pants are already wet from walking.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't really want to have like wet clothes. So like I haven't been sitting here, but I had some time between class, and so I just kind of like waited a few minutes like on the walk instead of sitting on the grass like where I would sometimes normally sit.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, I'm gonna start off by asking, so what are some of the reasons why you choose to come to the John Stepso or areas such as this?
Sometimes like because like I'm over here for classes versus like if I'm more like in South Campus, I won't come over here because it's such a long walk, you know, and if I have a class in Royce, I'll come over here because it's right here, and like it's somewhere to sit that people aren't at because everybody's always walking by and the library's always full.
Yeah, that's true. So, when you come here, do you come here by yourself or do you come in a group with others?
I'm like normally by myself. I've only come to the Jan Steps like once with a group of people, and it was just to meet some people. But normally it's by myself.
Okay. Is there any reason why you'll rather come by yourself than, like, maybe with someone else?
Well, normally I'm by myself because like I'm getting out of class and I'm waiting for a class. I don't know if I would come with somebody because like if you're trying to like talk with them, it's kind of awkward because you're sitting on the hill.
Yeah.
Like unless you kind of want the grassy experience. I don't know. It's just not something I would do with somebody, I don't think.
Yeah. So when you are here and you choose to sit here, how do you choose a location where you're gonna sit or lay down, or is it just completely?
It's kind of random. It's kind of where there's like nobody sitting, or like if it's not muddy over there, because if like you want to take a nap, you know, you don't want to be like next to a lot of people per se, just so they have more room, or it's kind of random, I guess.
So do you would you say you take into consideration other students are sitting in the area?
Yeah, most definitely. Because like sometimes you'll have the people doing like the like walk on like the tightrope kind of thing, and like I wouldn't want to be next to them because if they fall off, they might fall on you. Because especially like a hill and you like fall down, and sometimes there's kids over there, like the schools will come over there and the kids will be on there, and so if they're like playing over there, I don't want to be next to them. Like if for some reason I decide I'm gonna like read or that, it's sometimes nice to have like quiet, and so you just kind of like to be separated from everybody so they don't bother you.
Yeah, that's true. So often when you come, do you take into consideration the weather when choosing where you will sit? Like, do you sit somewhere different, whether it be sunny or it's chillier out?
Yeah, most definitely. I get hot easily, especially when it's sunny outside, so I like to sit in the shade. But sometimes you'll, like the only spots left in the sun, but it does like sometimes get hard with the sun. And if it's raining, obviously, like today.
Okay, so in your point of view, does the time of day influence the amount of people that are out here in the hill?
It seems like it. I'm just thinking when you walk by, you see more people at certain times. Like in the mornings, there's not as many people, but like especially during the middle of the day, there's a lot of people. And I also think like during the time of year depends, because like springtime, like everybody's out here. Like you'll see teachers and everybody's just out there sleeping versus like now where like there's not many people out there as much. And like fall quarter, there's some pretty good people, but the time of day definitely like affects it.
Okay. So yeah, I think you already answered this. So do you think around midday most students are usually out here?
Midday, that's what a lot of people try to get classes, because like students obviously don't want to get up in the morning so early, and like at night you don't really sit over there because you can't see because there's like really no light. So like midday is about like the ideal time because everybody likes the sun.
Yeah, so you just sit there between classes.
Yeah, because people like to sunbathe out there and who knows what else they do.
Yeah, okay. So, do you think that subconsciously you sit closer to certain students in comparison to others?
No, I wouldn't think so unless there's like a group of people. Like if it's mostly that are really full, then yeah, you kind of have to choose who you want to sit closer next to, and that depends if you want to sit next to like a group of noisy people, like a bunch of people talking. If you kind of just want to people watch, or if you kind of want to be by yourself, then you'll sit next to people who are doing like some stuff. But I don't think like subconsciously I choose. I'm not too picky per se.
Do you think that maybe like you'll sit closer to a girl in comparison to sitting closer to like a guy that's sitting
normally
somewhere?
Not. Maybe like if the case was like I was the only girl out of like a bunch of guys, maybe per se. But if there's like a good mixture of people, not too much because usually like you're not the only one out there. But maybe if like you're the only one, you might sit a little further away from a guy versus a girl.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
So from the top of your head, how far do you think they approximately usually sit from another person?
Like arm's length apart?
Like maybe feet-wise, like maybe like 5 feet away from someone, or like 20 feet?
I don't know, like feet-wise, I'm not really good with like distance, but if there's like a bunch of people on the hill, then I'll try to like have a nice kind of even amount around me, so like longer than an arm's length, so like, I don't know, 5 feet maybe?
Yeah, not too far,
not
but
too
not
far,
too
but
close.
like when there's nobody, like when there's like a lot of space, then there'll be like lots of space between you, because then you can kind of, then I don't feel bad if I like spread out, so like you can lay down, you can have your backpack in one spot, and like whatever else you have next to you versus having to keep it close to you. So it just depends.
So do you often go there to like sleep, or?
I try not to sleep out there just because I'm sometimes worried that my stuff will get taken. Just because, like, last year there was, like, a lot of theft going on. Like, granted, I know it wasn't with people who have their stuff, but still it's a chance. But if I'm super tired, even if I try to do work, I'll, like, end up kind of napping per se. But I'll mostly just have, like, a school book out then.
So when you come here, I'm pretty sure you usually have in mind something you're going to do. Maybe, like, work on a certain paper or read that one chapter you have for homework. So do you usually have something in mind that you're set to do? Yeah,
ideally, if that happens. That's not always the case. It's a little bit harder on the hill because you are, like, on a slant, which I find it sometimes a little difficult just because it's, like, awkward. And then it's also out in public, so then, like, you can't get as comfy as you want. So, like, I'm a little self-conscious, and I don't... So, but mostly I'll read.
Okay. So, in reality, like, if you're going to go read, maybe, like, a paper or read something for homework, do you actually do what you're set out there to do?
Yeah, sometimes. And it's a little bit harder because I like to read, so then I'll, like, if I have a book, then I'll read the book, either if it's on my phone or, like, a hard copy, so, like, that does get distracting. And depending, like, the time of day, like, if it's in the morning, depending if I have, like, then I'll be okay, but if, like, you're super tired, then I'll, like, kind of fall asleep. So it's like, you're like, oh, well, I might as well just take a quick nap while I'm out here, and I can do whatever it is later. So, I mean, unless it needs to be done that day, then it won't get as fully done as I wish.
So do you think there's something about the space and the, like, hill that just distracts you, or it's just, like...
No, I'm pretty good at, like, distractions not bothering me. Like, I mean, like, I'll people watch, but if I, like, tell myself, like, not to pay attention, then I can do pretty good. It's just, like, seating area. Like, it's nice to be outside if the weather's really nice.
Yes, I agree with that. So do you usually keep to yourself when you go to these spaces, or do you like to interact with others around?
I don't like to interact. I'm a little, I don't know what you would call it, just, it's kind of awkward going out to somebody and just be like, hey, what are you doing here? So I just kind of not interact with them, unless, like, somebody knows me, and then they'll come up to me first, because I normally don't pay attention. And that'll be about it.
Understandable. I do the same exact thing. So, do you believe that people, like, go out of their way to keep to themselves, or, like, to draw attention from them?
I think majority of the people go out of the way to, like, kind of keep to themselves, like, pretty self-conscious, but, like, I feel like the people who are on, like, the tightrope definitely draw attention, because, like, who tightrope, whatever, walks on a rope, like, on the hill, so, like, I think they definitely draw attention. You'll see people who, like, do stuff, I think, to draw attention, per se. And, like, you always get distracted by, like, the kids playing and stuff, but most of the time, people just kind of, like, keep your head down and keep to themselves just because I think we all just don't want to be, like, the awkward person and be like, hey, I'm so-and-so, and come off weird.
So, do you think that maybe, I've noticed that a lot of people usually have their headphones on. Do you think that might be, like, a mechanism to, like, kind of avoid
most definitely.
people approaching them?
Yeah, I think having headphones in is like when you walk down a room, you put your headphones in and you just kind of walk straight ahead so they don't bother you. So, like, the headphones definitely distance ourselves nowadays. Like, because even if you, like, were just, like, to be a nice person and just say, like, hi, like, as you walk by, they wouldn't hear you because their headphones are in. So, like, nowadays you just kind of assume everybody has a pair of headphones in and you just kind of ignore them. So, definitely nowadays you don't talk as much.
Yeah, that's completely true. I remember from my orientation, the guy told us that to just, like, put on headphones even if they're not connected to anything, and they would help when you're walking.
As I say, like, and, like, put some glasses on and stuff, so.
Yeah. Okay. So, how do you, I don't know, have you ever come to an instance where, like, someone will approach you selling stuff or asking for donations for certain?
I haven't got it on the Jan steps yet. I just seem to I got lucky there. I had it somewhere else, and it's kind of distracting because, like, you're kind of, like, it's normally, like, right when you're, like, in the zone, and they just, like, randomly come up and you're just like, oh, sure, and it will even bother you with your headphones on. That's, like, the one thing that they're pretty persistent. Like, I've had, like, somebody just sign, like, a voting thing, and they, like, tap you on the shoulder and, like, kind of bend over. Yeah.
If you see them coming, do you usually, like, try to look down or try to, like, look busy?
Definitely look down. Looking busy has not helped, per se, but, like, you'll definitely try to be, like, more intrigued and, like, not look that direction. Hopefully you're not what they're looking for, because they just will bug you and not, you know, leave you alone. Just kind of awkward, you know, when someone comes up to you on the steps.
So, what is your point of view of tourists that often come to the grassy hill to, like, take pictures or do stuff?
I mean, I think it's kind of cool. It's weird because I never did that. Well, I haven't done that yet either.
Yeah.
And we never did that as a family, like, come, like, visit a school and take pictures. So I think that's kind of neat, but also it's kind of hard because, like, I feel bad if you're walking up the steps and, like, you're, like, taking, like, it was a wedding picture the one time, and, like, because both couple, like, I guess the couple had met at UCLA, so they want to take, like, their wedding pictures here, so they're, like, in this nice, you know, in their wedding dress and suit, and they're trying to take this nice picture, and people are just walking up the steps behind them, so it, like, kind of ruins the picture, and, like, you know, people from other countries try to take a picture, and they have all these other people in it, so, like, it kind of, I feel bad, because it, like, ruins the picture, and you try to go out of the way, or, like, wait for them, but I mean, I guess it's cool. It's, like, a pretty campus, so I can definitely see why you want pictures.
Do you think they could cause a distraction if you're maybe off in the grass, like, trying to relax, do your work?
Normally not, because, like, it's pretty often, like, normally it's only a small group of people. The distracting ones are, like, when you have, like, a big tour group, and it's, like, all the kids, and they're, like, yelling, and all that fun stuff. So, like, that's the distracting one. It gets distracting when the tour group stop there, because, like, they'll just stop randomly on the steps, and so obviously, you just look over to see, like, oh, what kind of people do they have in the group?
Yeah.
And the wedding pictures are distracting.
Just have to look at them.
I
do. Do you often feel uncomfortable if, let's say, a person sits maybe too close to you?
If there's, like, a bunch of space, like, if there's only, like, 5 of us out there, and there's, like, I don't know how much space, but tons of open land, and it's kind of awkward because you're like, well, you had all this space, and it wasn't like you're in the one spot with the shade. There's, like, other spots for shade, so it's definitely awkward. I'm like, well, why did you choose next to me? But I guess if there's no space, you kind of have to be considerate and be like, well, it's the only spot they could have gone to, I guess.
Totally. So, do you have any other places that you prefer going to other than the Jam Step area?
Last year I did, like, the Sunken Gardens once or twice. The problem is, like, all the leaves, they kind of get everywhere. And then, like, it is awkward with people walking by because they kind of just stare. Sometimes I'll go to, like, by the physics department, there's some benches. And then behind PAL, across from Moore, there's, like, those benches I sat there. Or just, like, inside the building. Or, like, Hergoff, the South Campus.
So, what's your favorite thing about the Jan's Grassy Hill?
I mean, I don't go there too often, but I think, like, on, like, a nice day, it's, like, a really nice area, and, like, the nice thing is there's a lot of spots for everybody to sit there, and there's, like, lots of shade compared to, like, some of the other grass areas, 'cause, like, South Campus, there's no grass area, so, like, if you want, like, the sunny experience, that's definitely a space, and, like, the hill's not too bad, it's kind of nice, I guess, it's just, like, a good area, and people can't get to you as much, because, like, they'll walk past you, but not as much as if you were in, like, the Sunken Gardens, because you have to, like, get off the steps to go on the hill. So it's a little hard to get to, but it's pretty good.
So, what's your least favorite thing about the Johns Grassy Hill?
I mean, just, like, grass stains, and, like, it can get wet, like, you don't think it's wet, and then you, like, stand up, and your butt's all wet, and you gotta go to class like that, so just stuff like that's kind of annoying, or, like, the wind.
Yes, I've had that happen.
Yeah,
it's really bad.
I mean, just, stains, wind, and, like, it's kind of awkward. Like, you can't get as comfortable as you want because you can't spread out, per se. Like,
that's totally true. So, when you go to the hill, and do you usually, like, maybe have your laptop with you, your phone, music?
I mean, like, everybody, my phone's normally with me, just because it's, like, the convenience thing, like, forecast to color stuff. Most of the time, my laptop's with me in my backpack. I'll pull it out if I need to use it. Also, depending if, like, I need the battery for the next class. Also, because there's no outlets out there, so, like, you can't charge your computer. Like, if you have an hour break but you need it for an hour class, you can't use it. But I definitely will use my, like, check my phone and stuff.
Okay, well, I think that'll be the end for our interview. Thank you so much.
Okay.
So really helped for
Thanks.
my analyzing.
Too bad.
Okay, thank you.